The road to Pinecrest doesn't appear on most maps anymore. I found it by mistake. A narrow cut through pine forest where the signal dropped and the air felt suddenly heavier, like the land itself was holding its breath. Pinecrest was once a logging town in western Montana, active in the early 1900s. A sawmill, a schoolhouse, a church, and about 200 people who believed the forest would keep them alive forever. But locals now speak the name carefully, as if saying it too loudly might wake something. As I drove deeper, the trees grew unnaturally close. Their branches leaned inward, forming a tunnel of shadow. Then the forest opened and Pinecrest appeared. The buildings were still standing. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Wooden houses lined a dirt street, windows intact, doors closed. A general store sign hung crooked but readable. No fire damage, no collapse, no signs of decay you'd expect from a town abandoned for decades. It looked paused. I parked near what used to be the town square. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. There were no birds, no wind. Even the pine needles on the ground didn't crunch. It was as if sound itself was being swallowed. Inside the general store, shelves were empty but orderly. A ledger lay open on the counter. The last entry was dated October 17, 1934. No closing notes, no explanation, just a list of supplies and then nothing. That night, according to county records, Pinecrest ceased to exist. But standing there, surrounded by homes that looked ready for their owners to return, it felt less like abandonment and more like everyone had left at the exact same moment, together, without a trace. The county files don't say why Pinecrest was abandoned, don't say how. They only mark the date, October 17, 1934. I learned this after leaving the town and driving 40 miles to the nearest county office. The clerk there hesitated when I mentioned Pinecrest. Then she pulled out a thin folder, yellowed and brittle, like it hadn't been touched in years. Inside were witness statements from nearby towns. One farmer claimed he saw lights in Pinecrest that night, every house lit at once, brighter than usual, as if the entire town was awake. Another reported hearing the mill whistle below after midnight, even though it was never used at night. The most disturbing account came from a rail worker. He said that around 1:40 a.m., the train tracks near Pinecrest began to vibrate, not from a train. There was none scheduled, but from something heavy moving beneath the ground. He described a low sound, not loud, but deep enough to be felt in the chest. Then it stopped. When morning came, Pinecrest was quiet, too quiet. No smoke from chimneys, no people on the road, no animals. The sheriff who arrived later that day noted that meals were left half-eaten, beds looked slept in, shoes were lined neatly by doors, as if the town had prepared to return, but they never did. Back in Pinecrest, I noticed something I'd missed before. Every clock I found was stopped, not broken, stopped. All of them pointed to the same time, 1:47 a.m. 7 minutes after the rail worker felt the ground move, I stood inside the schoolhouse staring at the frozen clock above the chalkboard. When I felt it, a pressure change, like the air tightening. And then came the sound, footsteps, not behind me, around me, slow, careful, measured, as if the town itself was beginning to remember how to walk. I didn't run. That's what surprises me most when I think back on it. The footsteps circled slowly, never rushing, never stopping. They moved through empty lanes. The footsteps continued circling the building, slow and deliberate, crunching through snow that hadn't existed when I entered. Each step sounded heavier than the last, as if whatever walked out there was learning how to walk again. I reached the window. Outside, the town was no longer empty. Dim lights glowed inside buildings that had been dark minutes earlier. Curtains moved where there were no people. Smoke rose from chimneys that hadn't burnt in decades. Pinecrest was awake. Across the street, I saw figures standing in the road. Men in old work coats, women wrapped in shawls, children holding hands. None of them moved. They were watching the building I stood in, their faces pale, unfinished, like photographs left too long in the sun. Then one of them stepped forward, a man with a miner's helmet, its cracked lamp flickering faintly. His mouth opened, but he didn't speak. Instead, the sound came from everywhere at once, inside the walls, under the floor, behind my eyes. You weren't meant to stay this long. The footsteps outside stopped. The door behind me creaked open on its own. Cold rushed in, sharp enough to burn my lungs. I felt hands brush past me, not touching, but close enough that my skin reacted, crawling as if remembering something old. I ran then. I don't remember how I got out of Pinecrest. I don't remember the road, or the trees, or falling more than once. I only remembered the silence returning suddenly, violently, like a door slamming shut behind me. When I reached my truck, the engine started on the first try. The snow was gone. The town was gone. In the morning, I returned with daylight and maps. There was nothing there. No buildings, no road, no signs of ever having been a town. But my boots were still wet, and in the back of my truck, lying where I hadn't put it, was a rusted miner's helmet. Its cracked lamp still warm to the touch. Pinecrest doesn't appear on any map, but every winter when the snow gets heavy in Montana, locals say you can sometimes see lights moving deep in the trees. And if you follow them, the town remembers you.